Well, thank you very much, Julia. Thank you very much for accepting this small conversation from Votkinsk in Russia, where Tchaikovsky was born. It's really a pleasure for us in Mexico to be able to talk to someone who belongs somehow to the place where one of the most beloved artists, not only Russian, but one of the most beloved artists in history was born. How does it feel being from Tchaikovsky's hometown?
First of all, Gerardo, let me express my gratitude for inviting to take part in this conversation. As I told you before, this is a lifetime opportunity for me to share my thoughts and emotions with all those people who admire the greatest Russian composer. So I consider myself to be the happiest person ever because I was born in the place which gave birth to the most beautiful pearl in the ocean of Russian classical music. And more than that, I consider myself to be the happiest person ever because I still have this unique opportunity to plunge into the atmosphere where Tchaikovsky was brought up. So
tell me, please.
So I'm blessed. I'm really blessed, and that is why my heart is full of desire to share these emotions with all the people around the world. That is why I'm trying to use social media to show how beautiful the birthplace of Tchaikovsky is, and maybe it will give a chance to all his admirers to see that Tchaikovsky was really a master to capture nature in sound. This is what I would like to show.
It's great because you talk about nature. Well, Tchaikovsky was born in 1840, which is a long time ago. And maybe this is a little bit of a silly question, but I would like to ask you this. I know the house where he was born is perfectly kept, restored. It's a beautiful museum. But do you think that Votkinsk looks a little bit like the way Tchaikovsky saw it when he was a boy? Because he only lived there, I think, 8 years. Am I right? From 1840 to 1848. Do you think it looks a little bit like that, or it is absolutely transformed?
Votkinsk is a very small town. Its population is about 50,000, which is really small, and not so much investments are there in Votkinsk, and the government doesn't pay a lot of attention to developing the city. So as it was in the 19th century, the main plant in Votkinsk was the plant where Tchaikovsky's father was the head. And now this plant is still working, and this plant is one of the greatest metallurgical plants in Russia. So I would say that not so much changed, really.
But besides being the manager of that plant, Tchaikovsky's father Ilya did other things. I think he was like a landlord, or that he was somehow like sometimes he could do some activities like being a judge. It's very difficult for us right now in Mexico to understand how did Tchaikovsky's family live there? Were they wealthy? Were they very respected? Because they were not from the city. They arrived to the city. How do you think people looked at them in those days? Were they loved?
You see, I will try to explain. So Votkinsk was a very small, I would say, not a village, but yes, it was a small village around the plant, right? So Tchaikovsky's father was the head of the plant and a kind of a mayor of that, small city. So their family was very respected. They were wealthy. And if you come one day to Votkinsk, you will see the house is really, really big. There are so many rooms, and the estate in general is very big. So they were a noble family, and but they were very kind, They respected peasants who worked for them. So only very good memories are left after the family left Votkinsk.
And Tchaikovsky during those days didn't attend school like that. Am I right? He was just like being taught by his governess, Fanny Durbach, who came from France. So, do you think Tchaikovsky, as a boy, being from such a wealthy and respected family, do you think he was able to mingle with other children of the city, or he was from those days already a little bit isolated from the world?
I wouldn't say that he was completely isolated, because they had many children, right? He had his eldest brother, Nikolai, then Ippolit, Alexandra, his younger sister. So there were kids around, and the kids of the peasants who worked for them also were somehow around the family. But at those times, yes, the family education was a very common thing. So it influenced greatly, yeah. And do you know anything about his teacher of music, Maria Palchikova?
No, tell us about her. Right there because Tchaikovsky was a late comer. He was one of the most famous musicians who arrived later to being a musician himself. So I know that at the jurisprudency school in St. Petersburg, he started to get some lessons that he loved. Of course, adored his mother, who sang, who played the piano, but he did have a music teacher in Votkinsk.
Yeah, that's right. So let me tell you. So his father also played the musical instrument flute, right? Mm-hmm. And even despite the fact that he was a very busy person, he always tried to make time for music. And in autumn and winter evenings, they invited a lot of guests, and his father played flute and sometimes also sang. And some guests played the piano. So he was in this or that way surrounded by music. And once he started to feel that music lives right inside his head. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he couldn't stop, tapping the music out. And once, this story is very famous, when he even broke the window. After that, his father decided to hire a teacher of music, Maria Palchikova, and she spent about 3 years teaching his music. So he could read notes, he could compose some small works, some small pieces. So
most of them are lost, I think.
Yeah, they are lost, but anyway, we should note that there was a person like Maria Palchikova. Some people say that she was from a family of bonded peasants. Do you know bonded peasants?
Yeah, I know. But yes, I know, but please, like serfs.
Yeah, serfs, right. But she was a talented young lady, so I think she put a lot of heart and soul into small boy Petya.
Wow. Well, and I would like to ask you something which is for me very important, because Tchaikovsky, unfortunately for him, always felt that he did not belong. Of course, his sexual identity was a terrible problem for him, a very unfair problem, a tragedy, I would say. But also, there was also, he sometimes didn't feel accepted either as a Russian composer or as an European influenced composer. So I would like to ask you something. What about popular music, Russian music in Votkinsk? Do you think Tchaikovsky was able to get in touch with popular folk music in Votkinsk, and how could he have done that?
Yes, he was surrounded by folk melodies almost every day because, for example, let's imagine the situation when the family of Tchaikovsky is going to pick up mushrooms in autumn, for example, and they are in a coach, and so they're going to the forest, and the coachman is singing some folk melody. So peasants used to sing a lot. For example, peasant women, while picking berries or gathering the harvest, they used to sing a lot. And those melodies, like we use, like we, yes, we are used to say that these folk melodies stamped upon his heart because it
Wow.
was in childhood when everything around, when all these experiences shaped his brain.
And you, right at the beginning, you spoke about nature. What kind of nature surrounds Votkinsk? What did Tchaikovsky saw? Mountains, lakes, forests. What did he see?
This region is mainly a forest region covered with green forests of every, tones and colors from emerald to light green. And there are a lot of water, ponds, rivers. There are no mountains, but, we are really happy to live in a place where seasons are very bright. If we have summer, the summer is very hot, green. If we have autumn, it's a little bit cold, sometimes nasty, but the colors are fantastic, bright yellow, orange. And if we have winter, it's very cold. Everything is totally covered with snow. Sometimes the temperature is minus 30 degrees. And then we have spring, when the weather is waking up, when these small plants coming out of the under the snow, and when the birds start singing, and all these, like, I don't know how to describe it, but it feels like the transition from one season to another is really, really bright.
And you feel
And
that in Tchaikovsky's symphonies, besides the emotional part or the popular music aspect, you can feel all those contrasts. It's very easy to feel winter, to feel spring, to feel autumn in his music. Do you think that's that way Votkinsk marked his life? Because everyone, all of us, we are marked by our childhood. How do you think Votkinsk marked Tchaikovsky?
When I hear his music, I can close my eyes and I easily see like a photo of Votkinsk, of that place. Uh, I can easily restore everything, till every detail. So in my opinion, I know that he used to walk a lot with his siblings and with his nanny around the estate. And also, he remembered very well his trip with his father on the steamship along the river. So all those memories somehow again stamped upon his heart. And in his adult life, I think that those memories, like a spring, popped out. And also there is one interesting thing, I don't know if you know about it, but we still have a linden tree near the house of Tchaikovsky, which is more than 200 years.
Wow.
Yes,
So it's a
and
fact he knew that tree.
yes, he was walking around it. And I'm a very emotional person. Every time when I come there, I can hug the tree, and I can feel like I can touch the history. This was a friend of of the person that I admire.
Wow.
I can't find proper words to describe
No,
it.
you've done it. You've done it, believe me. And Julia, it's important talk about more delicate issues, which are important, because nowadays we realize that Tchaikovsky was a man who suffered a lot, much more than we can imagine. Maybe he is, unfortunately, among the composers who most suffered during his life because of his homosexuality. We know that starting from his family, his brothers, his siblings, then the scholars, then the Soviet authorities, and then even in more recent times, people from the government in Russia have tried to hide a little bit all those letters, all those documents that prove he was homosexual. How are Russians today related to that part of his life? Is that important? Is that not important? Tell me something about this. I know it's a little bit unpleasant.
Let me tell you a little bit more about our history. So the Russian Federation is a young country, right? So about 30 years ago, we were only a part of the USSR, right? And during the Soviet era, you know that even political terror was used against individuals with homosexual orientation. And it was during Stalinism. And even after Stalin died, it seemed natural, to continue persecuting people who were homosexuals. And in my opinion, it was influenced by the fact that during communism, it was believed that every person should be equal. We all should be equal. And that is why it is very difficult for many people. I think that it is more true for the older generation, that they cannot accept people who are different. Yes, and it is also related to ethnicity, to the color of their skin, to everything that can be different. So some people, some percent of the Russian population still exhibits prejudice related to those things. But the good thing is that everything is changing, but it cannot be changed in a minute. It takes years, to change the public opinion. So the younger generation is much more open-minded. And I know that many people try to escape talking about Tchaikovsky's homosexuality. Many people try to convince themselves that it's not my business. I don't want to think who was his partner. I just like his music, etc., etc. But we understand that anyway, whatever, this was an important part of his life. We cannot deny it. We cannot doubt it.
Of course, but more than that, Julia, the matter, the issue is not him being homosexual. That's not. Yeah. The point is that he suffered for that. The point is that he could not express that. That's the point. That not how he behaved. That's his business, none of our business. But the way he suffered, the way he had to hide, to repress these behaviors, sometimes at least publicly, made him suffer. And those attitudes reflect on his music. All that characteristic trait of his music, of that supposed fateful theme, fateful music, which always is haunting him and arriving, and he might be in a very happy mood, supposedly musically, and then from one minute to the other, that horrible fear shows in music. And that's why I really think it's important to address this problem and his death. There are so many theories about his death, and it now looks really that he didn't die of cholera, as we have been told, that it was not that accident, or that he drank from that glass of unboiled water. How do Russians now see Tchaikovsky's death? What do they think really happened?
You know, there are different opinions, but again, there is an official line from the government, right? That he was not a homosexual, that he died from cholera. But let me express my personal opinion.
Please do so.
I still believe that he had to poison himself because he had been through so many things, and he had been through so difficult struggles, and there was no way out. And every time when I listen to the symphony number 6, I find all the answers there.
Yes, I agree completely with you. There are no doubts about what happened. And now there's evidence. I mean, there are testimonies, letters, documents that show something went terribly wrong during 1893 for him and for the musical world, because his untimely death was something we still all regret. Finally, Julia, Votkinsk. Should we visit Votkinsk? Why should we go to Votkinsk? Just, I mean, it's how far is it from Moscow or from St. Petersburg? How do we get there? What can we do in Votkinsk? Tell us something about your city.
So, for every person who admires Tchaikovsky's legacy, Votkinsk is a must-visit place. And believe me, once you come here, you will leave a piece of your heart here forever. And actually, it is located 1,000 kilometers away from Moscow. There are a lot of flights to the capital of our region, and in case you would like to visit...
What's the capital of the region?
The capital is called Izhevsk. Izhevsk, right. So if you would like to visit Votkinsk, you may contact me, and I will pick up you in the airport. I will help you to find the best hotel according to your interests, your desire. So Izhevsk, by the way, is the town where AK-47 was invented, and
okay.
Kalashnikov. So many people,
Kalashnikov.
Right, many people are really interested to come here also to know more about those people who are interested in military industry. So, but one of the most interesting things is that our region is a place where in one of the Russian ethnic minorities lives. Have you ever heard about the Udmurts?
No.
So the Udmurts is a minority living here. Their language is close to the Finnish, the Hungarian.
Okay.
Yes, their traditions are very unique. Their language is very interesting. And the food that they offer to the tourist is also, you can never find something like it anywhere in the world. So we have a lot of things to offer to tourists in Votkinsk, in our region, and so you are welcome.
I'm glad to hear that, and I will put all your info when I post this video. I really thank you. Don't hang up after I say goodbye. I just say goodbye to finish the recording. But really, Julia, thank you for your time. Thanking you for contacting us after you saw we were doing our course. And it's really an honor for us to know that people from Votkinsk realized we are doing a Tchaikovsky course online in Mexico, and we're thankful. We will be seeing each other, and luckily we might be do something together. Hablemos de música, hablemos de ópera and Votkinsk. Thank you very much for your time.
I'm endlessly happy to be here with you today, and thank you again for this opportunity. I'm so pleased to see how many people still love and admire Tchaikovsky, and it makes me really proud to live here in his birthplace.
You should.
Gracias.
You should. Thank you very much.